Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 29th of May 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday's afternoon session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now then, let's quickly jump into the charts. The first one I'm going to touch on here is the S&P 500. Now, yesterday we saw this one sliding to the downside, closing in the negative territory and closing on this key important support zone that I talked about last week when I was covering S&P. So basically managed to settle here on this 2,802 level approximately there, which marks the lows of the 13th of May. Looking at the cash index right now and where it's trading at the moment, I mean, it's currently already sitting below this level, below the 2,800 level, and sitting around the 2,785 zone, which is near the lows of the 25th of March. Now, the big question here is, of course, will this continue, or will this rebound and maybe travel back up here towards this downside resistance line, the short-term downside resistance line taken from the high of the 3rd of May? That of course remains a big question. We'll have to see today, but for now, the way everything's shaping up now, again, like I said, we are looking at the cash index right now, we are already just on top of this 2,785 level. If this continues to drop lower, a break below this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and we could see this one sliding towards the next potential target here near the 2,747, which is marked by the low of the 11th of March. Now, the good potential target here, but again, before we could, like I said, consider the downside, we need to see that nice, good, clear break below the 2,785 zone. Now, ideally, of course, we would like to see a 4-hour candle maybe closing below this level, just for that kind of extra confidence. And if we do see something like this, then yep, further declines could be possible. Of course, this level that I've just mentioned, the 2,747 level, could play out, but slightly below that, we do have a better one. Near the 2,722 zone, approximately there, marked near the lows of the 8th of March. Now, also good potential target. As you can see how strong this level played its support role here back in March. Basically, that was the lowest point of March in a way. So yep, we could target down, but first, of course, we're just gonna aim for the 2,747 level, but that's only in the scenario if we see a nice good clear drop below the 2,785, or ideally if we see a 4-hour candle closing below this. In terms of the upside, I'm keeping this highlighted area around here. Now, if we see this one reversing back up here and pushing towards this downside resistance line, then of course what we're going to wait here for is of course a nice good close of at least of a 4-hour candle above this downside resistance line, and then we will target areas, higher areas. This could potentially lead towards a bit of retracement here to the upside, and the good area that we're going to be targeting here will be around the 2,892 zone, which, as you can see, it acted as a good area of resistance back in the starting from the 8th of May up until the 16th of May, but also here back on the 18th of April, it played its role as a support zone. So that's why we're going to target this one right right here around the 2,892 level, but only if we see a nice good initially break above this downside resistance line, and then of course if we do see the 4-hour candle closing above this level, and then yep, we will target slightly higher areas. Similar stories happening here with the FTSE. So FTSE is sliding today, and you can see it managed to reach this key area of support that I talked about yesterday. I've talked about the FTSE yesterday, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this one right here, the 7,150 level. But of course before that we were still up around here. We were still balancing around this 200 EMA, but then started sliding. As you can see, the sharp sell-off here. What I was saying, that if we see a drop below the 7,220 zone, 18 approximately there, then yep, this could open the path towards this 7,150, and this is exactly what happened. So that's great news here for the bears. The only thing is now, in terms of further declines, well, as you probably can already understand the idea here, we need to see that nice good clear break, and ideally a close at least of a 4-hour candle below this area, below the 7,150 level, or to be honest, ideally we would like to see a close of a daily candle here below this level, and then we will target slightly lower areas. And by slightly lower areas I mean for example the low here that we saw back on the 8th of March, which is around the 7,077 zone approximately there, good potential target. Slightly below that we do have the 7,065 zone, which if you scroll back here a little bit, you can see that it played a good role here of support, being a nice support area back here on the 8th of February. Also it didn't allow it to close any 4-hour candles here on the 28th of February, so that's why this could be this nice potential support area between these two levels, between the 7,065 and the 7,077. So keep your eyes on those, but again, keep your eyes on the break first. We need to see that nice good break and a close below the 7,150 before we could consider these lower areas. Now in terms of the upside, we're gonna shift our arrow here a little bit, and what we're gonna do here is we're gonna aim for this area right here near the 7,280 zone. So if we do see a nice good push above this, that's great news for the bulls. The index would also be placed back above its 200 EMA, so somewhat could see this as a someone could see this as a nice positive kind of indication. So in a way, like I said, that's why, long story short guys, for now we will only consider the upside at least some higher levels into the upside. I'm not talking about the kind of long-term or near even medium-term up move here. I'm talking about a very short-term, from the very short-term perspective. So a nice good pop above the 7,280 could open the path towards the 7,370 zone. So keep your eyes on this one. Ethereum. Now, I talked about this one, I believe it was yesterday when I talked about this one. Let me just double check that. Yes, on in the morning, basically I was telling you guys that we may see small corrections. We're basically balancing around here still, and what I was saying, that we are keeping a close eye on this area right here at 265 level. But what I also mentioned, that we may see maybe a small overshoot here, a test of this upside support line, this short-term upside support line taken from the low of this one here, the 10th of May. Very short-term, very tentative upside support line. So we may see a test of that one, but if it kind of fails to break and stay below this, or even actually, let's say if it fails to remain below the 265 level, this could be a good opportunity for the bulls to step in again and potentially drive this one higher. Now this is exactly what's happening right now, so that's great news for the bulls. So the next target for us is around the 280 zone. The only problem here right now is this pivot, today's pivot. So if we're looking at this one from the short-term perspective, yes, we could travel higher, but just for that better confirmation, ideally we'd like to see a nice good close above at least this 4-hour candle above the pivot, today's pivot, which is around the 270 zone, and then we could target the 280. And if that fails to withhold, then yep, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could then target the psychological 300 level. So For now, that's the game plan. In terms of the downside, well, if this starts dropping below this upside support line, and in a way, if this starts pushing below the 258 zone, this could be that first kind of warning sign for the bulls, that not everything is good in their block, but just for that better confirmation, a break below the 245 level, this would kind of signal, it could trigger more selling activity here. But again, even then, we will only target the area around here near the 223 zone. This would probably also coincide here with the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart, so that's why this could be a good potential target, but only if we start seeing drops below the 258 zone. And for those who are more on the cautious side, probably you could in a way wait for break below the 245. This would also actually place the crypto below its 100 EMA here, shown as the green line on the 4-hour chart, and then yep, we'll target the 223 area. AUDNZD, also something that I talked about yesterday in my Trader's Tea Time, and I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this little range that the pair is trading in. So we managed to break this to the upside, and of course, as you can see, the 4-hour candle stayed way above it, way above this barrier at 1.0595, and it also managed to travel. Now it's traveling now above its 1.0615. Now I was also telling you to keep a close eye on this one. This could continue accelerating. The next target here is around the R3, which is around the 1.0635 zone, so keep your eyes on this one. This could in a way kind of slow down the rate acceleration. We may see maybe a small correction, something like this happening. Basically, let me just put the arrow here this way, so we may see a small correction after that. This could maybe retrace back down, maybe hit the 1.0615, and then we'll take it from there. Now the last resort here for the kind of the bulls to step in case we see this one traveling higher, then hitting this resistance here, and then retracing back down. So the last resort for the bulls to step in could be this area around here, around the 1.0595, 1.06 level. So but if we see the 4-hour candle closing below this, dropping below this, and closing below this, then yep, well, I mean, we could see maybe this one traveling all the way back here towards this other this lower side of the previous range where it was trading in. And this one is around the 1.0552 level, so good potential target. If we do see something like this, then yep, we will examine it again, see what it wants to do further. Does it want to slide further down or doesn't? But for now, it seems that the downside is slightly off the table. Now we are going to be targeting this 1.0635 zone, which is around the today's R3, and then we'll take it from there, see if it actually wants to retrace or not. If it does want to retrace, then we'll be very careful around here near the 1.0615 level again. So like I said, this time it could play the role of a support zone, but even if it, let's say if it fails to do that, then the last resort here for the bulls to step in could be around this 1.06 level, which could then kind of trigger some more buying activity, and we could see this one traveling higher towards the 1.0660. Now this is the level that we're keeping a close eye on as well. GBPUSD, so continues to fight, or should I say the bulls continue to fight. Certainly did slide initially this morning, but as you can see, it kind of never managed to reach this area that I talked about in one of my previous videos, where I was covering GBPUSD. So what I was saying, that we need to see a nice good break below the 1.261715 probably area. We need to see a nice good break and a close below that before we could consider further declines. You can see that the bulls are really trying hard not to kind of get there to that point, to that stage. So for now, the pair is pushing back up. We are still keeping a close eye on this 1.2665. A nice good push above it could potentially lead the pair towards this tentative downside resistance line taken from the high of the 3rd of May, and then we will wait and see what it wants to do with this line, with this downside line. If it wants to break it, then that's great news for the bulls. More of them could start joining in and pushing this one higher. But for now, it is where it is. Keep your eyes on these levels, especially, like I said, for now, keep your eyes on this 1.2665 and the 1.2615 level on the downside. So and the last pair I wanted to quickly touch on, and that's USDCAD. Now, I talked about this one this morning, and basically we did get our nice pop here above the 1.35 level. It managed to travel all the way here, exactly hit our target here near the 1.3522, and from there it retraced back down. So it also at one point managed to actually drop back below the 1.35 and almost hit the pivot again. So but as you can see, there's a bit of a mess here happening right now. So the pair is now retracing back above the 1.35. For now, given this kind of activity here, what we're going to do here is we're going to take a cautious approach, a very careful approach, and wait for a clear break above the 1.3522 before we could examine the upside again, because this way the pair would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could then aim for the 1.3565 or even higher. But if this decides to drop back below the 1.35 again, and let's say starts dropping below the 1.3450, now this is where it could become ugly for USDCAD again, and we could see further declines. The only thing is that for even better confirmation, if you want, you can wait for a drop below the 1.3425 zone, approximately there. Now then this would could open the path towards the lower side of this range that the pair kind of is well, it's out already, but has been trading in, and it's out. Let's see where the daily candle is actually going to close. If it's going to close back below it, then, well, the range is still kind of in place. So that's why we're going to target the 1.3370 level, the downside, the lower side of the range, only if we see a strong drop here below the 1.3425 level. So for now, keep your eyes on this 135 zone. Let's see how it's going to play out. In about half an hour, we do have the Bank of Canada interest rate decision. So certainly probably not a lot of expectations in terms of changing the rate, but still we may see the CAD maybe strengthening a little bit, and then we'll take it from there, and we'll see what it wants to do by the end of the day. But again, if it travels back above the 1.35, if it stays here, then there's more chance for this one to travel higher, especially if it breaks above the 1.3522 level. So keep your eyes on these. Okay guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching until the end. If you want to join me tomorrow morning at my Traders Espresso, as always, that's 6 o'clock GMT time. For now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.